Bible readers. It is Wednesday, September 2nd. We're reading Leviticus 14 through 16 and Matthew chapter 23. And these chapters of Leviticus, and by the way, good work. Today you make it all the way to the climax of the whole, like the point of the whole book. So this is good that we've gotten there. And so a couple things to say at this point in Leviticus as you've read this far. First of all, we're finishing up all the clean and unclean things, at least in Leviticus. We'll have more to come, but I just wanted to read this part of my commentary. It especially, when we read all these clean and unclean things in Leviticus, I think as Christians, it really does help make sense of what Jesus is doing and how what Jesus does is seen by the people of his day, because they've been living with these Levitical laws, these codes, for many, many years, over 1,000 years. And so when Jesus starts doing things that are unclean, they need to make sense of what's happening here, especially in the face of Pharisees. And isn't it appropriate then that we're reading Matthew, a book, and especially a section of Matthew that's so anti-Pharisee? The Pharisees are all about the law. They're all about Leviticus. And Jesus just flies in the face. So when you see, when the woman who's been bleeding for 12 years touches Jesus, we know that's a story about an unclean person touching Jesus and that it's somehow special. As we read Leviticus, we're really seeing what the depth of meaning that this has. He also, of course, touches the dead daughter of Jairus and a leper, and he allows a sinner to wipe his feet. Surely a new age had dawned with the coming of this Messiah. Jesus took the same view toward the laws about bodily uncleanness that he took toward the food laws. He pronounced all things clean. Such teaching led Jesus into direct conflict with the Pharisees. We know that from what we read today. Jesus emphasized that more was at stake in the matter than an external act. Internal preparation and the consent of the heart and mind were important considerations. And so Jesus is really speaking to, it's what's inside that matters as much as, if not more than, what's happening in your skin, or as we read Leviticus today, the discharge and all these things. What else did I want to say? Oh, then after all this clean and unclean stuff, you get into chapter 16, which is all about the Day of Atonement. If you've ever heard of the term Yom Kippur, short, you could even say it shorter than that. Yoma is day, the day. This is the most important day in the Jewish religious year. Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year, and then shortly after Rosh Hashanah, Jews celebrate Yom Kippur. And so as a new year begins, and we can resonate with this, as a new year begins, you start afresh. You start over. You go into a moment. Jews, after their new year, Yom Kippur is a time for repentance, reflection, and actually September 27, 28 is Yom Kippur this year. And so the Day of Atonement, this is what the whole book of Leviticus has been leading up toward. Like here, we're saying what's clean and unclean. We're saying how to make sacrifices and all these things, because there's this Day of Atonement where very special things happen through the priest and through the repentance of the people. As we look at the Matthew stuff today, it is all an attack on the Pharisees and scribes in the temple area. I think a really important piece to remember is this is not about all Israel. This is about the Pharisees and the scribes. And so a word about who these people are. The scribes are the intellectuals, the advisors to the people in power, who are mostly Pharisees, because Pharisees are political and religious. It's a political and religious movement. And so you could imagine that the Pharisees are the authorities and the scribes are their advisors, and together they make policy, they enforce policy, and they have started to enjoy the trappings of power, the status. They want to be seen in certain places, they want to look a certain way, and Jesus is speaking to that. He's speaking to the historical truth of being Jewish and how much more equal it is meant to be. that there isn't meant to be hierarchy or supremacy among them. And so really Matthew is claiming that the Matthean community is to be different than what the Pharisees were trying to set up, which was a good old boys club, basically. And so Jesus goes after, the 7 woes. And at root of these woe be to you, at the root of all these woes is hypocrisy. That your words, you do call upon the laws and the good words, good thoughts, Pharisees, but your actions are not showing God's kind of mercy and love. So yeah, be obedient, of course, everybody, to what they're saying, because it is the law, but come on, don't be such hypocrites. I am one with my God. My God is with us, all of us, at all times and all places.